Martin!
New Udra?
Yes, bring me oil!
Oil? But isn't there a lot of that in the oil well basin?
I'm not in the basin.
What do you mean you're not?
No, I'm in Japan.
Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, with the 1-year anniversary of Wilds just a few days away, today marks a very special occasion. This morning, or last night, depending on your time zone, we had the most hyped up Monster Hunter live event of the year, Monster Hunter Festa 2026 in Japan. A few months ago, there was a Festa in France that was a multi-day experience, but this one is in Japan, the home of the Monster Hunter franchise, and while it was only 1 day long, that doesn't mean it was small by any means. We got some new concept art shown off, there were reveals and talks for Stories 3 that we'll talk about in detail in just a moment. There was a whole panel with some reveals for upcoming Wild stuff that I am personally staying blind to as usual, but Josh already has a video up on the channel talking about the Wilds part of this if you want to check that part out specifically. And there's also stuff like commissioned cosplayers, someone in a Palico suit, a full Palico suit, full-on badass statues of monsters, inflatable monsters, and full-on statues of actual like equipment, like the full Arkveld equipment set and multiple others too. So let's break it all down and enjoy the event vicariously through those who went and through the stream of the event too. First up then, we should go over a Monster Hunter Stories 3 set of reveals, as those are pretty massive. There was not only a new trailer, but a dev talk related to Stories 3 as well. And let's start with the trailer, which is called Go Forth. The trailer starts with a view of a region called Tarkwan, with a gigantic crystallized Laoshan lung as a fixture of the map that they even show themselves walking on later. It's not an enemy, but literally it just exists there in the desert biome, which is cool as hell. It then cuts to a discussion between a man who looks like the human representation of a Nargacuga and a blonde lady who you probably already know by this point. They mention the Scriveners, usually short for the Royal Paleontology Scriveners in previous games of the series, who are essentially the faction of ecologists that study monsters, learn how they work, and then create detailed notes and write their findings as they study them. So we now have both Hunters and Scriveners confirmed to exist as separate factions in Stories 3. We see a Baroth confirmed here. We see what appears to be a water dual element Devil Joe firing a wet beam at a Seregios. Then we see a dragon dual element Ray Dow, who looks incredible in that like deep crimson coloring before exploding with an attack that hits Nibblesnarf. That's right, Nibblesnarf officially confirmed to be in Stories 3. What an incredible pull of a monster choice who often gets left behind. But he just has the right level of quirkiness to fit right at home in a Stories game. We then finally get actual footage confirmation of something that we have been told about before, which is that our followers will be able to get alternate monsties, with Eleanor being the example shown here on a green Glavenus that she calls D, which I have to imagine is a reference to the original Glavenus name in Japanese, which is Dinovald or Dinovaldo. We see a gigantic purple storm in the sky while they talk about the source of the encroachment. Then we see a very, very unusual egg for a Stories game, as it doesn't have any typical egg patterns or anything like that. It is almost like a scaled egg essentially. Then an extremely exciting reveal, at least in my opinion, Shogun Ceanataur confirmed as a monstie during what appears to be a montage of a fraction of a few different kinship skills, including Malzanos' kinship skill and Arkveld's kinship skill. But Crab Monstie now officially confirmed, and I am so happy that that exists. Then at the tail end of the trailer, we have a massive reveal appearing to be similar to the Namiel event that exists in the trial version, the demo of the game, where a whole weather event happens across the region and then Namiel shows up. But this is in the second region of the game, the Canalta Timberland, and instead of Namiel, it's Gogdang Thunder Serpent Narwa and Wind Serpent Ibushi seemingly together at the same time, both of them, which is such a cool choice to include in a Stories game. That's the trailer then, but there was also a dev walkthrough vid that was even translated to English and posted on the official Monster Hunter channel afterwards with the lead game designer, but for the most part, this just goes over things that we have already had revealed, just explaining it in a nicely laid out way with good detail. But there was one reveal hidden in this video, which was when sorting through a nest of eggs, they pull out a new pattern that I don't believe we've seen before, a fanged wyvern egg with 2 shades of blue as the colors on it. And I wonder what they could be. At the Festa itself, they also played the game a little bit live within the new desert region Tarkwan that we've been getting glimpses of, and we get some pretty cool reveals from this too, like we do get to see an ice dual element Malzeno, who looks quite interesting, ice dual element Plesioth, who is like extra blue, then we see a third weather their event causing calamity Elder Dragon, which is one of my favorite monsters in the entire series, the gigantic floating balloon octopus, Yamasukami. We've already seen feral Yamasukami revealed before, but that is the feral version. This appears to be the same type of encounter as Namiel and Azuria, or the Narwa and Ibushi we talked about earlier. So another one of these calamity Elder Dragons is the non-feral Yamasukami, just floating around above the desert, and I love that so much. Then they actually fight him as well with their ice Malzeno, and while doing so they get a kinship attack, which means we also got to see the reveal of Malzeno's kinship attack, which I'll just let play for you here to enjoy in its full entirety. Right? That thing is unbelievably stylish. And then immediately following that, they take out a dragon dual element Brachydios, who also looks quite good, and they also get his kinship attack and use it as well. And while Brachydios isn't a new monster to the story series and his kinship attack has existed before, they have modified it from the old version. They have remade it, so I'll have it playing on screen here, but it uses the child version of your player character, which I think is awesome. And also Rudy joins in for the training montage. It's just a fantastic way to remake this one specifically with the way that Stories 3 seems to work, and that's it for the Stories reveals themselves. But before we move on from Stories as a whole, there's also this cute collaboration event with the Hunter's Bar in Japan, which is the official Monster Hunter bar that exists in Tokyo, which from the launch of the game for the next month or so afterwards will have a Stories 3 placemat, a bunch of special coasters for the game with the different characters, and then bonus merch like keychains depending on what you order as well. That's it for story stuff then, so now let's expand outward to the entire event as a whole. Based on some pictures shared by people who actually went, the event was absolutely packed with people, full capacity, extremely long lines, and I love to see that for a series that I love. The event started with an opening ceremony that included a giant Palico mascot on stage, which is almost as uncanny as Meowscular Chef in the film that does not exist, and then they started talking about collaborations going on surrounding the Festa event. This included Ichiran Ramen, which you may remember me talking about a bit back at the Taiwan Championships, as one of the prizes for that event was a ton of ramen from this company, but now it makes a lot more sense as we see that they are doing a full collaboration box with Wilds, a ramen kit, some little Palico Chef plussies, what appear to be some coasters, and a piece of quest cleared dishware, which is lovely too. And there even seems to be an in-game related thing for this, but I'm not looking at that because that might spoil me for event quests. Then we see a collaboration between Monster Hunter and Galleria, who have made a custom Rathalos Wilds PC that looks awesome. They show the specs of the PC, and they mention there is a giveaway tied to this as well, though I'd be surprised if the giveaway isn't region locked. They show some sort of advertisement for Suumo, which is a rental property information type service in Japan, and they're saying that this part of the ocean might be dangerous to live in because of, well, Lagiacris. They showed the Suzuki collab again, which we've talked about before. It's essentially just a specifically designed Wilds livery for a full-on car, and then also one for a dirt bike, both of which are very cool looking, and I just find it hilarious that they decided to do that. Then we get to the actual audience participation events that happened as a part of Festa 2, which included being able to play the game with developers such as Ryozo Tsujimoto or Yuya Takuda to take on the new Arch-Tempered Arkveld quest with only a 25-minute time limit in their version, preset gear and stuff like that too, and if you succeeded the hunt in the timer, you got a couple of prizes modeled by this lovely lad here, which are a Yonkutku plushie and a Monster Hunter Wilds themed bag. The other thing that popped up was a quiz that you could participate on from your phone, very similar to the quizzes that we have talked about from other championship events like the Festa in France. A lot of overlapping questions as well, things like what monster does this footprint belong to? Which monster's limb is this? Or which monster uses this instrument within their sound design? And prizes for the people who scored in the top 6 were this Lagiacris plushie, which is a lovely take-home souvenir to remember this event forever. We then got to see a breakdown of a bunch of concept art surrounding the Oil Well Basin map. Then you got to see the map in general, Rompopolo just chilling under some burst pipes. We got to see the big crater zone, the boiling marshes of the upper layers, the forge area itself, as well as the lower zone with the Gravios and some fallen pillars from Wyveria above. A glimpse at concept art here of the Gogmazios arena as well, and then they move into Azuz itself, the village on this map, including showing us concept art of the various NPCs around the village and their aesthetic goals for these characters from the get-go, which is quite fun to be able to see how they looked here and connect to how they actually look in the game. Following that is a fun sort of breadcrumb that they maybe want us to follow, which is they show the Everforge itself and the shape of the sigil on the ground that the forge pours into, pointing out that the the center section of the sigil is also this specific part of the Wilds logo, which leaves some threads to potentially follow for people to look for the other symbols throughout the game world as well. Then we got some New Udra concept art, including these detailed images of the fake eyes of New Udra on its head, as well as surprising detail on these severed tentacles specifically, how they sort of like planned out the entire nerve structure of it, how it results in the tentacles moving even when severed, opening and closing the sort of endings of the appendages after it's been severed, and the way that they've thought about this is quite cool in my opinion. Then they show the logic of creating the sort of protective layer of oil that gets built up and hardened, and how it doesn't just like cover the monster like a pure liquid. It's not like a sheet over the existing shape of the monster. It sort of solidifies in different areas and changes the shape and the silhouette of New Udra when it's there based on the way the oil sticks. And I think that is exactly the kind of extra next level detail that makes Monster Hunter creatures feel believable and realistic, despite being so clearly not something that would exist in the real world. Then to cap it off, they showed the new Yayas, which are the endemic life that are just baby New Udra, and I love these little guys, but specifically they showed concept art of them, and I love the confused looking doodles on them on the right side, and then at the bottom the size comparison for them. It almost looks like New Udra is just showing this hunter its children, and like it's proud, like, look at my little spawn, and something about this whole image is just so adorable to me. Outside of that, another Festa related event happening in a Monster Hunter game was this event with Monster Hunter Now, a collaboration which gives you various Rathalos quests of different difficulties with some pretty solid rewards, things like a guild card background, but also solid material rewards for the quest too, which is nice for people who play that game. And so there was also a bunch of cool stuff from around the event face itself, including fully modeled real-life versions of equipment sets from the game. We had the Hope set with the Hope hammer beside it, the Arkveld set in the Arkveld charge blade, a gigantic statue with a big Legiacris head, a big Rathalos head, and a Rajang poking out the side too, and it just looks incredible. There is a Hope armor hunter riding a Sacred that looks awesome too. Then we also see Legiacris, Gormagala, and Seregios armor sets as well, and they all just look so good in real life, but I want the Seregios one especially, and the Arkveld one, which just looks extremely fluffy. And there's also this inflatable Seregios sort of statue type thing, which I think looks awesome. In the background of a few of these shots, you will also probably have noticed a giant New Udra, and here is a picture of it before the event space was fully filled out. It's essentially just a 40-foot tall balloon of this octopus, and I think it is one of the coolest things they've done here. It is so neat. I've also seen this picture of a Yonkut Ku actively coming out of a wall, looking like he is walking out of Wilds into the real world, which is very cool. And then here's a couple of Palicos in Rathalos and Acorn armor sets, then a couple more Palicos in the Monster Hunter World and Iceborne Palico sets, and then a giant inflatable Zinogre, just like the New Udra that we talked about before too. There's also a full-size, fully furred Palamute statue. Then there was a Stories 3 display with two Skyscale Rathalos breaking out of their eggs, which is quite cool as well, especially with the fact that Stories 3 isn't even released yet, and they already have had this created. And then a couple of specific things to point out here are the size comparison wall posters that they had up for Wilds as well, which are incredible. The top one is large monsters of the game, and you can really clearly see how massive some of them are. Like, I love that they have Jindahad just sort of hanging on a wall in the corner above everything else, and then the lower of the two walls is endemic life and small monsters from the game. And I love that they even included the specific singular entity giant Downy Crake from the Grand Hub, instead of only showing these smaller Downy Crakes. It makes me appreciate this even more, but both of these are just extremely cool to see. That just about does it for today then, everyone. A roundup and recap of Monster Hunter Festa's announcements, reveals, and festivities. We covered the Wild specific section in another video already up on the channel, and we didn't talk about it here, but there is of course the big 3-stage championship for Wilds that happened at this event too. But seeing as it's the big championship, the one with the most actual stuff going on, we're going to cover that in its own separate video a little bit later on. This one is essentially just everything Stories 3 related and all the fun stuff around the event space, the interactive stuff with the attendees and stuff like that. And I absolutely love looking at these events this way, even if I can't actually make it to them myself personally. I hope you've all enjoyed this video then, and let me know your own thoughts on the Monster Hunter Festa 2026 down in the comments below. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.